Thank you guys for joining us on our call tonight. I'm always grateful to be able to have some faces here, and I love it because most everyone is on, I recognize and know. So tonight, I'm excited to talk about one of my most very favorite things. I think this is something that we miss. I don't think enough coaches talk about it. It's not something that I think I focus on enough in the beginning, but I feel like this is probably the number one thing I have found after coaching now, my gosh, 6 years with, thousands of women across those years. One of the number one reasons that we quit and stop our plan. And that might not be the entire plan. That can just be part of the plan, but we quit something. And usually the reasons that I myself used to give, and I feel like I hear the most common, and if you hear anything different, drop in the chat below, is I don't want to do this anymore. I'm stopping, I'm quitting because I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing it anymore. Or we're not seeing results, right? This isn't changing. I'm not losing weight. I'm not putting on muscle. And those are very real feelings. I struggled with those for a very long time. And every one of those are the reasons I stopped whatever program I was following, the food I was trying to stick to eating. And so now in working with enough women, I had an epiphany one day talking to a client, and I realized, oh my gosh, I don't think those are really the reasons we stop. Maybe 99.9% of the women. I honestly feel like, and I'd love to know if you agree with this or if we do some deep diving, what you think. I think the reason we stop is because the noise in our head is too much to bear and we want it gone. So what do I mean by that, right? We're going to talk a lot about noise in our heads, and we want peace, right? We protect your peace. Noise in our head are thoughts that we tell ourselves, things that we focus on, things that become ingrained, and they kind of become our identity and the framework how we see everything. So we're going to cover a couple of fun things that go into this, because if I am constantly feeling down about myself, I'm not sticking to my plan, I can't do it as perfect as I need to, right? We have sometimes the all or nothing, or at least needing to do a few of the things on there. Life happens. I slow down with the plan. I stop working out, not seeing results. I don't feel like doing it. I don't like doing it, right? All of the things that happen, because this stuff isn't easy and sometimes not fun, especially the nutrition side. Feeling, right, the way we do, and hearing the voice in our head saying, hey, you suck. Hey, right? The things we tell ourselves. Hey, I'm a failure. I failed again. I knew I wouldn't stick with it. I knew I wouldn't lose weight. I knew I would still eat all the cookies. I knew that I'd still be irritable. I knew I wouldn't stick with my plan, right? We beat ourselves up. We are really, really hard on ourselves. Majority of us. If you're not, that's a blessing. Share with us how you overcame it. Living with those thoughts of frustration and feeling inadequate or not good enough, or why can the girl next door or my gym partner see results but not me? That noise in our head, right? The things we tell ourselves becomes too much to bear. And to stop those feelings and feeling that way and the noise, right? Those things we say to ourselves, it's easier to stop doing everything, because then all of that goes away. And that was kind of an epiphany I had. It was, oh my gosh, the things we tell ourselves, the framework for which we view everything, our ability to succeed, right? The outcome that we can stick with something, and give ourselves grace, because a lot of this is hard. This isn't easy. If changing your habits in your daily life were easy, we'd be there already, right? If it were easy, I'd have a million clients and be a billionaire, because it's an easy thing to follow, and it's not. And so when we can step back and say, this is going to be hard, this is going to take time, because it's all about data points. It's all about looking at every choice I make throughout the day and who I am currently, how I respond to things, how I think about things, how I view the framework of what I'm doing, right? It's an identity. If I'm overeating, I'm not getting up very early, if I'm only working out once a week, if I don't check my fiber, if I'm not getting my steps, all the things that make up me, and those are the things that I feel like I should be doing better, not the positives. That's my identity. Like, I am someone that sleeps in. I am someone that only works out once a week. I am someone that does this, right? We talk a lot about these things. So if you don't like how your body feels, moves, and looks currently, like today, then obviously we have to change something, but it's not the scale and it's not the food we eat. It's you. And you have to become a different person. And you guys hear me talk about this all the time. So I hope this is another good reminder that where you want to be in 6, 12 months, 5 years, you cannot be the same person you are today. You cannot be the person that sleeps in and only works out one time a week, doesn't track fiber or protein, and overeats and eats out a lot and has a lot of alcohol and doesn't walk or move. right? Because the body we're in with those habits are where we are. So if you want to feel better, most importantly, if you want to move better and be able to engage and keep up with kids or grandkids, right? And exercise the way we want. And if you want that body to look differently, shedding body fat, building strong muscle, right? The shape that you want, you have to be a different person because the person you currently are got you where you are, right? So in 12 months, we've got to focus on how to change you, right? And so then we look at the habits. But generally, we start with the habits. Let's work on getting up 15 minutes earlier. Let's on hitting, practice hitting 10 more grams of protein. Let's get just one more workout in. Let's get 500 more steps in, right? That's changing you, which will then change how you feel, move, and look, right? But before that, to set yourself up for success, and where I feel like the most important piece of identity changes is in our mind, right? It's us, it's our thoughts, it's the framework for how we see it to then be able to be where we want to be. And so when we focus on the noise in our head, again, those are the things we tell ourselves. I'm not good enough. I don't do these things. I can't, right? The can't, I should be, thinking we have to check off every little box on our plan for the day. And that's a heavy thing to keep in mind, right? So let's start there. So tonight I want to talk about, which I don't think we've ever had a Zoom call on this one, is the noise. And I've got a couple topics that I want to go through to help you set yourself up to have the framework for success so that you can get up earlier. You can get the protein in you want. You can walk more than you want, right? You can exercise. You can put down the fifth cookie because maybe your goal is only 4 instead of 5, right? Whatever it is, because we're all on a different scale of change right now, is starting with how you view it and yourself. And so I've been doing this and I've had this epiphany the last 14 weeks because I'm on my round 2. So with the one-on-one clients that I've had lately, it's brand new. It's a 12-week program and it's all on this, right? I give you 24 modules that cover these CBT modules, all on how to interact with ourselves and our mindset shifts, because we've got to help become someone different, right? So I want to share some of these with you tonight that I found most powerful over this first round of 12-week clients finishing. And homework assignments and things I want you guys to do, because this, I promise you, will set you up to not stop, to give yourself grace when things aren't changing, to give yourself grace when life happens, which sometimes really sucks, but you can get through it because you have the right framework. And that's what I found to be the most aha moments of these last few weeks. So I want to talk about first the things that we say to ourselves and the framework for what we set up. So every one of us listening is on a different path right now, right? We all have slightly different goals. We may be beginner, we may be advanced, we may be fat loss, we may be strength gain, you might be in the middle, you may have 100 pounds to lose, you may have 5 pounds to lose, you may be younger, older, right? So we have to remember that everyone is slightly different. We also have to remember that progress becomes slow, right? It comes slow. Think of how long it took you to get where you are. And it's going to be adherence to changing your identity to get to where we need to be. And then I mentioned data points. Everything on this process is not just the scale. And this will be one of the most liberating things to really allow to sink in. The scale, you hear me talk about this often also, indicates total mass changes. So you have to remember that it can be inflammation and bloating. 2 months ago, I was up over a course of a few weeks over 10 pounds. And it was like, I don't recognize my body. I say to my girlfriend, I think I'm losing my muscle. I can't see my striations. My biceps look smaller. My quads look smaller. And she goes, yeah, you look like your muscles either shrinking, but that's not it, Jess. You just, honestly, you look like you've put on more body fat. And I'm like, but I know I haven't done that. Like, I'm not increased calories. I'm not doing anything different. Come to find out, inflammation. Do you know you can put on 10 pounds of inflammation? Well, it was slightly over that. So I then had to approach my plan differently, right? So the scale wouldn't have changed that. So I've dropped that. I dropped it in a week doing an anti-inflammation diet. It's knowing what to do and give ourselves grace, because the framework for what we have isn't always the complete picture. So remember, when you're on the scale and it goes up or down, there's a lot of reasons that's changing, from, like I found, inflammation to body fat to our bowels being full to snot to hairspray in our hair. And so we have data points from, yes, the scale, but mostly to monitor inflammation and bloating, because that's going to go up and down daily. And then that gives us a framework to look for during the day of what to shift because it went up, and what was good because it went down. You also look at body tape measurements and you look at photos. And as you're looking at all these things, we're collecting data points. Look at how you feel right? I know I talked to a lot of you guys about this. So if you take a supplement, if you eat a certain food, do you immediately bloat up? Do you feel like crap? Do your joints ache? Does it give you loose stools, right? Headaches, hair loss. Like, so we just look at data points of, hey, as I'm making shifts and changes, this is new to me. I'm not going to lose 10 pounds in a month because I'm not even sure exactly what got me to where I am, right? If we've gained body fat. So if I'm not even sure the exact one thing that got me there, or the exact one thing that, had muscle loss, or the one exact things that, give me headaches or bloating, then we're not sure exactly what to do to get back to normal, right? Whatever the normal is for today. And so we have to look at data points, and it's a collection. And so that's why I always say before we start getting frustrated in our noise, right, in our heads, beating ourselves up, saying it's been a month. I still feel like I'm even maybe softer than where I was a few weeks ago. This isn't working. I'm done doing this. It's as hard. I'm not seeing changes. We've got to look at how aggressive are we being with our changes, right? Are we just increasing protein by 10 grams or 50 grams, right? 10 versus 50 is a big difference. The faster you see results will be correlated to the more effort you put in. Now, we have to go at a speed, though, that protects the peace in our brain. So as we talk about these things, right, the data points are body tape measurements, how we feel, how our clothes look, bloating, the scale, right? We look at all of those and then we assess all that we're doing throughout the day. And that's important because we beat ourselves up for just seeing a 4-week time period and the scale not moving or us feeling like we're softer, we can look at the data points and say, hey, stop beating myself up. I have factual data of what's happening. And then we look at that and we adjust it because I need to give you tools to help stop us from getting frustrated, right? To help stop that noise and the self-sabotage and why am I not doing this well? And one of those tools are looking at data points so we can actually see what's happening with my body and what can I focus on changing. And so with that, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. So we look at, like I said, the way that we beat ourselves up, the way that we set the framework, right? I want to talk on those two things. And I say beat ourselves up loosely. Every single one of us is going to do that a little bit differently. And some of the clients are like, oh, I'm not really hard on myself. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. And every single one of them came up with realizing, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that some of the things I was telling myself was actually hurting my progress and was noise in my head. So I want to be able to share that with you. So we'll talk about that, but I also want to talk about you have to set yourself up for success from the beginning so that you don't let yourself go down that road of the thoughts that make you feel frustrated, right? That would make us want to quit. And with that is we have to have realistic expectations. So just like I mentioned a second ago of when you feel, right, we look at where we are and we can only give ourselves how much we can handle. So look at your week every week and decide, hey, I'm super busy tomorrow, but I've got more free time on Wednesday. This weekend's crazy. I've got celebrations or I'm on vacation, right? And so you scale back. Please remember, one of the biggest reasons I find women now and talking to them every single week for an hour is unrealistic expectations of what we think we should be able to get done. And then we beat ourselves up. And even without realizing, sometimes that continues. I don't want you guys to feel that way. So start of the week, I want you to be able to say, hey, in a 7-day time period, or maybe if you're like me, just go day by day and the night before assess, what am I doing tomorrow? And then you look at it and say, you know what? I can only get in 20 minutes of workout. I can get in an hour and a half. Great, depending on how you feel and what's going on that day. You look at it and say, I'm gonna have to eat out twice tomorrow. Okay, so I've got to be a little bit more liberal with calories because I'm not sure exactly how much I'm gonna be eating. I can be at home and fix a nice 5-course healthy meal. Or it might be a night where I drive through Little Caesars drive-through, right? You give yourself realistic expectations that every day is going to be a little bit different because you're human, right? So then we've got to give ourselves some grace that when I can plan day by day, adjust it. So every day, right, you've got different choices. In the app, we've got 5 choices of what we can do for movement every day. And I was just sharing this with a client where you've got the full workout. So if you have time, do an hour and a half workout. If you don't or don't have the mental capacity because it's just not one of those days, do the shorter workout, right? 30 to 45 minutes. If you don't feel like you have the energy to strength train, there's a follow along HIIT cardio workout, right? And if you're not on my program, great. Find something that is familiar to these options. And then maybe you're like, I can't work out at all today. Walk. Just make sure to get some steps and movement in. And if you're like, you know what? I can't do that today. Then you choose an active rest day. And then that frees everything because you actively chose what you're doing, meaning you have the power. because this whole thing is about power. The whole thing to me is about choices. So if I'm at home and I let laziness win or lack of motivation or I just don't want to, I'm tired, right? Then those have the power. And they're going to grab and eat that power and they're going to keep it and use it day after day after day. And then all of a sudden, so many days have gone by and the noise in your head is telling you, oh my gosh, you're crap. Why aren't you doing this? Why are you giving in every day, right? And I don't want you to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel that way. And we also don't want to give in to any of those feelings, right? Of just lack of motivation or laziness or whatever it is, whatever the reasons we use for not doing things, right? I'm just going to eat all the stuff, right? I don't want to stick to the plan. I'm going to try to stick to the plan, right? That means those feelings and emotions control the power. And we want to be in control of power, right? Another example would be sugar cravings. I am powerless. You give me a bag of chips, I am toast. It's like half the bag's gone. It's the compulsion that wins. It has the power. One ding Dorito, it has the power, right? And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I can't stick with this. So we want to make sure that we control what's happening. And it starts with the framework in our mind, right? I want to be in control. So in those situations, we come up with realistic expectations of how to battle those situations, which then will help us have peace in our mind because we chose something. We're not lazy. We're not motivated. We made an active choice. And that's going to be a huge difference in getting you to stick to your plan. So for instance, out of those 5 choices for exercise and movement, right? Even if it's an active rest day that you choose, every single week, I have 1 or 2 active rest days. I don't work out at all. I get some steps in, but I don't do any sort of workout. With summer, if I'm traveling, sometimes I only get 2 workouts in. It just depends on how the travel schedule looks and what I can do, right? But on a normal average week, I work out 5 to 6 days a week. So I give myself 1 to 2 floating rest days. So when I wake up and I'm like, I can't do it today, it's mental health, or I hurt, or I have too much going on, or I just don't feel like it, right? I choose that might be either a walking day or a 15-minute HIIT cardio day or an active rest day. And because I have 1 or 2 days that float throughout the week, I choose to use that one day. And then I free the space in my mind, right? We all can relate, I would think. Maybe it's just me, laying in bed at night and you beat yourself up. I didn't do this, or this. Why? Why did I do that again? Right? And we don't usually, at least me, praise myself for all that I did get done. It just tends to be, I yelled at the kids. I didn't fix dinner. I went through drive-through again. I did this. I did this. And it's hard. So then we start to tell ourselves, I'm going to fail again tomorrow. I'm never going to get this. That's the noise we want to eliminate. So again, set yourself up with realistic expectations. Start the day, any of your 5 choices for movement. Even if it's an active rest day, you held the power because you chose to take an active rest day, and that's part of the plan. Then that means you got 1 other rest day. Or if your rest days, you have 3 a week, fantastic. You got 3 to float. But don't ever just not do something, right? Because that's when we tend to beat ourselves up. But you're going to feel good at night laying in bed when you're like, you know what? I felt like crap. I didn't feel good. It was a stressful day. It was a busy day, but I made a choice and I still showed up because that's all that it is about. And then it can fluctuate on that scale of different type of movements. It goes the same for everything else that we do. So give yourself non-negotiables, throughout the day of, okay, I'm lying in bed. What is tomorrow? Realistic expectation number 1, this is about what I can get done day to day sometimes, especially if you've got kids or multiple jobs or a single mom and owning businesses, things always come up, right? So the second thing would be my non-negotiables. So I'm laying in bed, I'm thinking, great. So I've analyzed my time, how much time I have, the mood I'm kind of in. And sometimes that will change when we wake up because you may be in a better mood or a worse mood. And then I say, what are the 2 things that must get done? And maybe you say 3, maybe you say 1. And non-negotiable. So I'm laying there and I'm like, you know what? And it's usually the biggest pain point. What is it that gives me the most angst laying in bed of like, Jess, you didn't do that again? That's what we want to focus on because it's also going to give you the most reward. So choose that as your non-negotiable. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be health and fitness. It could be cleaning out the bathroom or a closet you want to do, or finally getting caught up in some paperwork or a paper you have to write, or a conversation you want to have with somebody, or it's I'm going to work out, or I'm going to hit my protein for 1 day. It can be absolutely anything. You can maybe have 2 with cleaning around the house, 2 for work, and 2 for health and fitness, or 1 in each. But you've got to give yourself some sort of plan, otherwise the day disappears, and it has to be realistic. And then the nice thing is, the cool thing about non-negotiables are you give yourself, that one thing, and then obviously you have other hours in the day, so other things are still going to get done. And then you lay in bed at night and you're so thrilled because the only thing you gave yourself to do was a non-negotiable and you did it. And it was probably a hard thing. And so you're going to be more proud of yourself. And even if the toilets didn't get cleaned, the bathroom mirror's still messy, the vacuum floor didn't get done, you didn't shave your legs, whatever else you wanted to do that day, none of that matters because it wasn't on the non-negotiable list. Those things can be bumped to a different day. So when you have to view what we're doing in a way that is realistic, again, to quiet the noise and give yourself peace. You protect your peace at all cost. And so lay in bed the night before or morning of, evaluate what you're going to do, give yourself non-negotiables. And if you can't do that one non-negotiable, short of like your house burning down or someone getting hurt and you're in a hospital, right? I mean, big traumatic events, we don't have control over those. We get sick or throwing up, right? We most of the time have ability to say yes or no and set boundaries through our day of what we do, right? What we prioritize is kind of where we put our time. And so then you can look back of like, crap, I didn't get my non-negotiable done. Don't beat yourself up. Use it to explore why. Why couldn't I fix the dinner when I thought that I could? Why couldn't I do this, right? It was the only thing I told myself I wanted to do and I knew it was important to me. And then use that for self-reflection, right? Ask about or think, ask yourself questions, right? And think if this was my non-negotiable, it was most important to me. Don't beat yourself up because that's bringing more noise. Figure out why you didn't get it done, especially when most of us have hours we really could, right? I did this instead. I did this instead. And we may say it's more important, but ultimately the day before, right? Or the morning of, we decided the non-negotiable is most important. So you got to look at yourself of why didn't I do it? What is it, right? And then we can work on that. That gives us growth because that means, again, like we did in the beginning, you're changing your identity. You're becoming someone that fixes things, that understands why you do what you do. You understand the voices in your head. And if you can fix that one reason of why you didn't do that non-negotiable, the second you unlock that key to what is keeping you from doing that one thing, then it goes to everything else. Now you've got the key to looking at, well, why can't I do this, this, or this, right? You have an understanding of yourself. That's where identity starts to shift. That's where results in our body starts to show as the identity starts to shift with us. We're going to stick with things longer. We might even put a little more effort in because remember, effort is huge in seeing results, but it also comes down to how much can you handle with our thoughts, because sometimes we think we can do the all or nothing, right? I don't know if that's just you guys, just me. I tend to think if I have a program, I got to hit every single box that she gives me to do, right? I tend to think I have to do something perfectly or the entire workout. Or if I said I'm going to cut out all sugar, if I have one little piece, crap, I screwed all of it. I tend to overlook the things I did and just see what I didn't. And that again is what kills us. Think of the things we tell ourselves in our mind that bring us down, and then you're going to be more discouraged and frustrated, and we're going to give up totally. And so when we can look at how much effort can I put in this week, right? Now we talked about having a realistic expectation of how much we wanted to do or what we wanted to do, but at what intensity do we want to do it? Because if we look at this and then plan accordingly, again, this creates more positive thoughts in our head, which ultimately will lead us to being where we want to be. And so then we look at, okay, great. Let's look at intensity levels. I think I can handle, example, increasing protein by 10 grams. If I increase it to 20, I'm going to see progress faster. And then you have to have a conversation with yourself. Do 2 pain points, right? Do I want to see progress faster with muscle gain? Plus, you'll lose less muscle hitting protein when you're deficit. So muscle's extremely important to hit, and protein's a big piece in getting that there, right? So you're like, the 2 pain points are, I know that I need to eat more protein, but it's hard. I don't know what. I don't like it. I don't want to buy it. I don't want to prepare meat. It overwhelms me. I'm going to only increase by 10 grams. That's great. That is still change, and you praise yourself for doing that. But if you're like, I want to see results faster, I'm frustrated that I'm not seeing results fast enough, we got to look at, well, it comes down to how much protein we're eating. So if you want to see fast results, you got to increase the intensity level of effort on how much you're doing. So now increase it to 20 grams of protein, right? So we have to realize that the body and how it feels, moves, and looks on a level of effort scale. If we want a body that, say, looks, feels, and moves like a level 8 effort, we have to put in a level 8 of effort to get there, right? When I first started, I was like a -2. I wasn't even on the scale of effort. I did the most minimal possible because it sucked and it was hard. And I was very proud of myself because I went from doing nothing to a level 1. One level of effort, which was the 10 gram of protein. Well, for the whole first year, I didn't know what protein was. Finally figured it out. I increased by like 10 grams. And then I did maybe 15 more ounces of water. And I went from doing no movement and exercise to 3 HIIT cardio workouts. You guys know this. I've talked about it often. They were supposed to be done in 20 minutes. I did them in an hour, but I got it done. But my level effort, I worked super hard. In fact, those time periods were harder than what I'm doing now. Um, I only put in, right? I did a 20-minute workout in 60 minutes because I always would watch TV, so I slowed it all down. But I did it, and I was so freaking proud of myself. But then I was like, crap, I'm not seeing results fast enough. And it was taking me forever. And I asked a girlfriend who's on the same program, I said, why are you looking better already? She said, well, are you doing the workouts? I said, yes, and I hate them, but I'm doing them. And then she said, well, are you doing them in the 20 minutes? Like, how hard are you working while you're doing them? And I was like, oh, I watch Grey's Anatomy, so it takes me about an hour, right? And she's like, oh, you spread out over an hour, so you rest a lot. You're not probably not pushing yourself as hard. And I said, I don't know, I just got it done. So she was putting in maybe a level effort 3 by doing it in 20 minutes as it should be. I was doing it in 60 minutes. I felt like what I was doing was probably harder for me than her, which I think she'd agree. But that's all that I could do. So I was so proud of myself. So you get to decide to protect your peace at what rate you can actually apply more effort, right? And then we get the body that matches that. So me at a level 1 taking 60 minutes saw much slower results. And so I had a level 1 body, right? As far as matching the input and output. She was at a level 3, she saw results faster, she gets a level 3 output. And when I had that epiphany of, oh my gosh, all levels can be hard. I'm not asking how hard you're working because I felt like level 1 was harder for me. I now wake up 5:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, after even a couple hours of sleep. I put in a 2-hour workout. I hit my macros, I hit my protein. I do all the hard things. But I still will say level 1 of starting and making the first identity shift was way harder. But I'm putting more effort in now, so I'm able to see more results. I buy the better supplements. I do the anti-inflammatory diets. I work out more often, right? I push myself. But I've had years to go from 1 to where I am. The key in seeing that success, I feel, in the level of intensity changing is all that I've just shared with you. Realistic expectations. I didn't have a timeline because I didn't know how long it would take me. And I protect my peace at all costs. And so it was like, yeah, if I'm going to feel down on myself for doing this, it's too much than I can handle. I've already beat myself up 1 or 2 days. I'm not doing it. Right? So then I scaled back, right? So my level of effort is always going back and forth based on, I don't want to lose my self-worth. I don't want to feel bad about myself. I don't want to look in a mirror and only see all the things I'm not doing. I don't want to lay in bed at night any longer. I'm going to get emotional and only hear in my head all the crap I didn't get done. You protect your freaking peace at all cost. So that's why this is so important to be successful, is to set this all up and be very realistic with yourself. How much can I actually do? So that also means, are you paying for a program you're following, right? You can do random Instagram or YouTube videos, but your level of effort is going to be lower because it's not the best plan, right? Follow a coach's plan. It doesn't even have to be my own plan. Follow anyone's plan that actually knows how to get you there. And it took me from my very first one, I paid only a few dollars. Well, I first did it at home with my own VHS tapes and realized I don't know what I'm doing. I need to pay a coach. Followed a plan. I did it for a little while, built my confidence, right? Doing even at an hour, and then I scale it down, and then I started doing more, and then I entered a gym, and I did just a little bit of workout, and then I did more workout, and then I paid for my own program, and I pay for a strength coach twice a week just to make sure I'm still doing what I need to do. That level of effort is a lot. I don't want to pay money twice a week to be in person with somebody, but I want the result of doing that. And so I look at the pain points of, I can either say I want the better body and the better movement and the stronger body and the knowledge, but I have to do something to get it. And for me, that's paying for a really good coach twice a week to be able to do that. And so that's worth it for me. Would I have done that on day 1, 6 years ago? Heck no. I didn't have that mindset. I was more interested instead of committed to the change. I didn't have the stage of life where I could have done that. And what I was doing was already hard. And so I took it at my own pace, knowing that over time, I would like to get to a place where I saw the value and had more help, or I bought the better supplement, or I don't know, whatever it is that you guys do that we do or don't want to do, right? I paid to have someone help me with my gut health or whatever it is, because we put our time and money where we prioritize most of the time, right? Give and take with that. But that's where I say it's just the self-reflection of, what am I willing to put in? Because it's hard and it takes a lot to change our identity. And as you protect the peace in your head, you do that. If you're stuck and then you're beating yourself up, you only know what you know. So you have to remember, you're not a coach, you're not a dietitian, you're not a nutritionist. I even pay for help. I got a gut guy I work with. I pay a strength coach twice a week, right? I only know what I know, and I'm okay admitting that. But I decided I wanted to know a little more. I wanted to see better results. And so I have someone help me. And so that's where it gets to, like, when you feel stuck, have somebody help you. Don't beat yourself up because you're not supposed to know what to do. It's like playing the piano, right? I can't set my kid down in front of the piano and say, play these songs. He's like, I don't know how to put these music notes and chords together. So we pay a coach. You pay a piano teacher. And if you stop after a few months or you get frustrated, right, you ask the teacher for help. And if you quit with the teacher, your progress stalls. And maybe you practice on your own for a little while, but you get to a page maybe 10 pages later where you're stuck again. And then you need the coach's help, or meet coach, piano teacher to help you, right? And it's like that with anything that we do. I think for some reason with health and fitness, we just think we should know or it should be easier, but it's okay to invest in you. And that's time, that's maybe financial, that's asking for help, and that's not beating yourself up, because it's just like learning to play an instrument. We don't know how to do it. It's new to us. If we knew how to do it, we'd already be there, right? And so don't beat yourself up. Understand where you are. And then, like we talked about, right, your non-negotiables, look at the intensity level of what you want to do based on what you can handle, which then should eliminate altogether the all or nothing mentality, the perfection mentality, right? Because if we could be doing all those things, I'd already be doing them. And we don't want to feel like we have to do them, because that pressure in our head will get us to stop. So just look at what you can do every day. Look at how much effort do I want to put in, but then you've got to be okay with the results matching that effort. Now, then sometimes we get to a place where, like, I feel like I'm putting in the max amount of effort. I feel like I'm doing everything possible and I'm not seeing changes. And that's when you ask somebody that's maybe gone through it, or a friend, or reach out to me. That's why I do my one-on-one coaching program. That's why I have this program where I give you as much tools as I can, but not one-on-one, because it's a cheaper price point, right? And everyone needs something different. And so as you look at, am I stuck? Am I doing these things, right? Let's look at things. Let's review it. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe in one area, for example, it's we say we're tracking most of the time, and that's hard. Tracking sucks. And so be proud of yourself what you're doing. But if you're not seeing fat loss, then we pretty much need to be tracking everything, because the variables, the gray area, is what's holding us back. If you're not hungry, you're probably not in a deficit. If you've walked 8,000 steps for a majority of the time, which is above the recommended of 7, your body's used to that. So now we need to increase it and walk even more, right? To give yourself more stimulus and change. And some of those things you just might not know, but there's always something that you can do. So don't beat yourself up or feel frustrated or overwhelmed. What's wrong with me or my body, right? Because our thoughts are an extension of our body. You just don't necessarily know the next step. And so that's one way, right? I think some of us struggle with that, of finding help instead of letting ourselves then self-sabotage, or I know I'm going to do this because I've always done it in the past. And it's not, right? We just need to find something different, because what might have worked, people will say, well, I did this and this and it worked, but I'm trying it now and it doesn't work. And I said, well, if it initially worked, it would still be working. It wouldn't have ever stopped working. So maybe it just worked for that time period, or maybe the stress levels you were at. But now we got to figure out for you today, because even what worked yesterday might not work today. Stress levels play a huge piece in a lot of this. So as you look through these things, right, I want you to think about, okay, Jess is talking about all this. I don't really think I beat myself up that bad. Maybe I don't think too negatively about what I'm doing. I'm pretty good with myself. Then I want to give you a homework assignment. This is one of the modules that I give my client, my one-on-ones, where I want you to look at, and I want you to keep track, because it's fascinating. Because almost everybody came back to me on that next week. I spoke to them and they said, I beat myself up so much more than I thought. And what do I mean by that? I want you to track tomorrow exactly how many times you have a negative thought. So what does a negative thought be? I want you to track every time you say, oh my gosh, any thought. I should have been able to do that. Should is a negative thought. You shouldn't have to feel like you should do anything, right? So I should have done that. No, that's not a word. We don't use the word should. So that I want to track how many times, because it gives you an expectation that you didn't meet, right? Oh, and we don't want to do that. So eliminate should. I want you to think anytime you say, oh my gosh, I didn't get that done. Why'd I go so slow? Even something like that. Why couldn't I fix a bigger dinner? Why didn't I get this done on time? Why didn't I hit the protein today? Or crap, I never do these things. Or, oh my gosh, I'm terrible because of this. Or we physically look at ourselves, right? Down a photo or in the mirror, and we have a negative thought. Lay in bed thinking negative thoughts. Any single thing that if you heard your daughter or someone similar say to themselves, you say, hey, don't say that about yourself. Or anything that gives you a feeling of you're not enough, right? because you are. We just don't know enough to make the changes we want. You are enough, right? Your body size doesn't determine your value or worth. We tend to think it does, but I promise you it doesn't. We just need to know more. And this noise stuff, all these modules I talk about, this is the breaking point for figuring that out. And so count how many times you speak negatively to yourself. And I think you'll be amazed, because then if you don't think you can do something and you validate it by saying I can't, or I'm not good, or I should have, you will repeat that pattern over and over and over, because that's what your body believes. You're telling yourself that. So why would you do any different, right? And that was a bit of an aha moment for me. And so I want you to talk about, this is another thing I have these clients do, is build your credit, right? So I want you to look at all the things you do positively. So once you calculate and track how many times we think negatively, I want you to track all the times we say positive things. And it's usually very little, but we're going to give ourselves credit. We're going to build up our credit. So I want you to praise yourself for anything you get done in a 24-hour time period. Even if you have to come up and reach, I clipped my toenails today. And I've wanted to do that for a while and I haven't, right? So if it's something as simple as that, you got the dishes done when you usually wouldn't have. You picked your kid up on time. You got up 5 minutes earlier. These are all wins. You shaved both legs instead of one for lack of time. I don't even care what it is, right? You did 5 extra minutes of your workout. You got 10,000 more, I don't know, not 10,000, let's say 100 more steps, or give yourself grace. It doesn't have to be huge and fireworks. It's the little things that change the identity, because they're sustainable and they make you feel positive. So all day, I want you to focus on everything positive that you do. And I mean, sometimes we can't see it. It's a filter that, I mean, we don't even have that on ourselves. It's just programmed to see what we didn't. Give yourself grace and compassion. Think of if you were to follow, again, your daughter or a similar figure all day. See, this makes me emotional with 3 girls because I know how sensitive and tender my girls are. Follow your daughter all day and point out everything that she does exceptional, as small as it is. You put your pants on without help today. I don't care what it is. You praise that kid, right? You speak positively. You are finding all the ways that she has worth. You got to speak to yourself in the same way. Keep in mind, everyone around you sees how you speak to yourself. And I want my daughters to see how I speak to myself in a positive way. So this is why it's so imperative that we focus on the right things. And so I want you to build credit. All day, you find things that you do phenomenally. You didn't burn something for dinner. I don't even care. Instead of going through McDonald's drive-in, you went and got a salad instead, through another drive-in. That is encouragement. Instead of 5 sodas a day, you're at 4. That is good. Any little change. See, instead of saying, but I still had 4 sodas, I don't care. You got 1 less than what you did the day before. That is amazing. So you look at those things, and I want you to build your credit. Look at all the good things that you do, right? And then I want you to stop and think, okay, I obviously say things that beat myself up a little more than I thought I did. Another assignment could be, again, I'm just throwing out things I do with these clients. Another one is, I want you to post everywhere a word that means something to you, a word that triggers an emotion, a word that inspires you to not give up, to find and look for your credit, to not beat yourself up, just like you would not beat up your daughter. Something you'd say to your, a positive word you say to your sister or your mom, right? Anybody in your life. And I want that word everywhere. I want it on your steering wheel of your car. Maybe it's a screen for, the front home screen of your phone, sticky note on your bathroom mirror, on your fridge. Have your family know the word and they repeat it to you. They text it to you 10 times a day. Whatever it is that could be a positive word that makes you feel good, that gives you hope, that makes you believe in yourself, because not believing that you can do something is also a negative, right? That's beating ourselves up. Anything that will trigger you are stronger than you think. If you're frustrated, you're going too fast or giving yourself too much, or you're not willing to get help, right? And so we can fix all those things. And so I want you to think of something. It might be the word grace. I choose to give myself grace because I couldn't get something done today. Worth. I am worth. It does not have anything to do with how much I got done today. It could be hope. Hope that I could do something better tomorrow. It could be consistency. Consistent. I am consistent. I will stick to what I say I can do. I can do this. Strong. I mean, it can be anything. Anything that you think is a word that will make you feel empowered, that would help you. And I'm sure you've done this for for your kids, for nieces or nephews. I've done this for my girls. Like when they're struggling with something, it's something that I always continually tell them. And I want you to treat yourself the same way. And it may sound dumb, but I promise you, doing this with women for weeks now in these coaching calls, it works. Because we have to replace the negative track and the noise in our head with something positive. You cannot just say, I'm not doing anything. You got to repeat it with something else. We got to give it a new loop. The framework in our brain, right, is the structure of building a house. So, um, if you think, okay, I'm going to build a new house and I'm sitting down with the contractor, and we tend to, as the homeowner, jump to, I want to talk about the landscaping. I want to talk about the brick color. I want to talk about the window shutters. And he's like, whoa, we got to talk about the framework and the ugly concrete, right? And the walls that are brown and not snazzy. That framework is what keeps you where you want to be on the path, on the journey of getting to where you want to be, even loving yourself more, right? I mean, there's so many things, right? Each of us have our own individual goals. You got to work on the framework first. And that's what I teach, right? That's my whole point of the coaching program is get the framework in place. And I help you do that so that then everything else are results. We want to jump to the landscaping and the shutters. And that's the body results. That's the fat loss. That's the muscle gain. That's the pretty shine. But you got to get the framework internally first. Then you can do the shutters and the groundwork. It's the same of you could have a beautiful red shiny car, but if the interior of that car doesn't run or there's no engine, okay, right? We can't just focus on the fat loss, which is the shiny car. We got to focus on what's in the car, right? To make the car even function. And so you got to be healthy, right? We want a healthy mindset. That's what continues, right, to keep us going and going instead of thinking, I can't feel this way anymore. It's making me feel like I'm a failure. I'm going to quit it altogether. So when we can focus on some of these things, right? It's the framework. You got to come up with something positive to replace the negative. And it may be that you, instead of saying 50 times something negative, you're only doing 45 times, right? And we've replaced it with 5 that are positive and only 45 that are negative. And then that shift keeps coming and you don't allow yourself to feel like I had to do all of this. Beat yourself up. I only got so many minutes done. Don't beat yourself up. That's more than nothing. And that's still effort. You're still on the level of effort scale. You're still getting stuff done. And then if you're frustrated because you feel like you're doing everything, that's when we ask for help or we shift something, right? Maybe I'm not lifting correctly. Maybe I'm really not tracking. Maybe I'm eating the wrong kind of food. Maybe I'm inflamed like I was and I got to do something totally different. But you only know what you know. And so give yourself grace. You're not supposed to know everything. So those are the majority of the things, right? Reclaiming our power, who's in control. It's not the sugar craving. It's not the lack of motivation. It's not the laziness. You are. And so you've got to be able to make those choices. And you do that by realistic expectations with 1 to 2 non-negotiables, right? That can fit in that day. You go with no more all or nothing. It's not everything has to be exceptional. It's just good, right? Get good at doing good. And then if you want to put more effort, intensity in, like we talked about, then be great. And then if you want to live it exceptional, but I don't know how many people can thrive in exceptional. I can't. I got divorced 2.5 years ago and I've been a wreck for 2 years. My workouts are different. My meal plans, everything in my life is different because I'm stressed and I'm dealing with stuff. I give myself grace that I'm not going to look and feel the same and move the same and commit the same. I'm going through something, right? And I'm okay with that because I wake up and I know the situation, right? Give yourself grace if you're dealing with job loss or spouse issues or parents that are ailing or kid issues, right? You're human. Give yourself grace and know that things take time based on if you're interested or committed. The more positive you tell yourself things, you're going to stay more showing up and then sticking to your plan, and you will see results long term because you're not going to stop as we typically do as humans over and over again. I don't want you to stop. I want you to see results. My whole goal is to get you to look in the mirror and not first identify something wrong with you. My goal is not fat loss for you. It is not strength gain. It's you looking in the mirror and seeing something you did right. So if the first thing you do is look in the mirror and it's the negative thought of either how you look or what you didn't do, then we got to reframe that, right? That's what I got to help you do. You got to change the thought process, meaning you got to change you. But we do that by all the things we talked about. So if it's a first negative thought, I want you to beat you to it. I want you to walk in the bathroom, don't look in the mirror. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to stare at the mirror and I want you to recite 2 or 3 things of the building credit that you did. And those things are the first things you're going to see because you're thinking them when you look in the mirror and you're going to be proud of yourself. And you may still then think the negative thought because you've programmed yourself to do so. That's your identity. That's who you are. If you're someone that looks in the mirror, sees negative, that's your identity. It does not have to stay that way. Close your eyes. I want 1, 2, 3, 10 things. You say this to yourself. You tell yourself, I'm of worth. I can do this. It may be slow. That's fine. I'm still doing something. I am good no matter what size I am. I want to change things. Great. Do it. Focus on literally what you look at in the mirror. And there's a ton of ways I can help you do all those things. I just want you to look in the mirror and be proud of what you're doing. Because then you have peace and you're more likely to stick with all of this and you're more likely to feel better and everyone around you feels good and they get the best version of you, which ultimately is what this is. It's health, right? It's mental health. It's you being the best version of you. Body fat loss, muscle gain, yes, those are great. That's the shininess on the car. That's the landscaping, the shutters. But the interior of the car and interior of the house is what matters. That's my job, is to help you understand how to switch how we think, which I've determined after doing all these these coaching calls. It's pretty much therapy, which I didn't realize for majority of them, not all of them. Building that framework, right? And learning to love yourself more. And when you do that, your identity shifts. You're going to show up more with more intensity. And that's when all of the body starts to respond because you're speaking kindly to it and you're believing in it to do it. So I think I never like to talk too long on these. You guys know I can go for a while because I get super passionate and I know where you can be and I want you to get there. I think I've covered the majority of the things. You got a couple homework assignments. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I talked to with these clients. And I just kind of wanted to cover some of what I do in the coaching so that you get a taste of this. So homework, track how many times you speak negatively to yourself, then track how many times you speak positively, right? And then give yourself credit, build that credit by looking for everything positive. And I'm even here if you do this for a week or a month. And then I want you to come up with a word that you're going to plaster everywhere to remind you of what you're doing and why you're doing. And then lay in bed at night or the next morning and figure out what you can get done and non-negotiables. And that will help you feel better, right? That will eliminate that noise and we'll replace it with some noise. We're not perfect. I'm a woman. I don't even know what I'm going to feel every day. But I have such a healthy relationship with what I do and my body and my program. And that's what I want to be able to share with you guys. And these are the tips that helped me get there and will help you guys see the results you want also. So that was a lot. I hope you took notes. I would love to hear from you on any of these things. Feel free to tell me how many times did it blow you away maybe that you speak negatively? How many times are you positive? What is a non-negotiable? Text me, message me, tell me when you hit these non-negotiables. I get them all the time. I get pictures, I get text messages. It's like the highlight of my day. And I want to be there to praise you for it, right? You did something awesome. As simple as it is. I hit 10 more grams of protein. Tell me. It's important to be able to celebrate those wins. Again, we're retraining the mind, right? To believe something different, to say something different, and also to prioritize it. Because what you're actually committed to doing is where you put your time. You may just be interested, and that's okay. Interest means I'd like to, but I don't really want to put the effort in. And that's okay, because that will shift over time. And when you decide it's important, then you'll do it. And I'm here to help you with those things. And this foundation we talked about is the first place to start. So if you guys have any questions, also reach out to me. I love seeing you all. I am grateful for the opportunity that I have to share kind of what I've gone through that will hopefully help you guys also. So thanks for letting me be like a little teeny part of what you guys are doing. But we are a group of badass women. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you are in your journey. I don't care how bad you beat yourself up. I'm here to tell you that you are. I've been there and it's a pit and I'm not living in that black pit anymore of noise in my head. It is so much more free when you choose to believe in the goodness and that you can do this. So let me know how else I can support you guys. As I've said a few times, I love you all. Thanks. Most of you guys are in the program and some of you are even on my one-on-one. So I appreciate you guys. Anything else I can do, let me know. Let me know the wins, right? Tell someone that's something that is so important. And we'll meet again next month on a different topic.